80,000 or 800,000 year journey of evolution to get to the domesticated dog we have today, like the Golden Retriever. So, you know, over that amount of time, I think, yeah, I mean, we might have been the catalyst for why we're all domesticated and we have the partnership with dogs the way we do.
Yeah, and long story short, it's been a long story, according to the history that we know of. And we is what basically, if I'm going to be honest, what other people have told me or I've read. I'm imagining that the sources are credible. It seems to make logical sense, but it could have been over a long time span with lots of genetic mutations, lots of maybe feeding wolves, taking them to other parts of the world, maybe them all of a sudden becoming intertwined and codependent with the human pack that they're traveling with, and then breeding in and out specific qualities that they would think would be best, maybe ridding or getting rid of the wolves that were too hard to control, maybe keeping the ones that were more submissive, maybe keeping the ones that had specific traits that were advantageous to humans. And then, long story short, how many breeds do we have now? You said we have about 300.
I mean, I'd say over 300 breeds, not including just mixes.
So who knows how Noah's Ark and all the different shared beliefs fits into this. However, what I'm curious about in this communication, especially because between the both of us, it seems like we have a pretty fun and good grasp and awesome perspectives on the different psyches of dogs and humans and how they're intertwined. And I'm curious, maybe from your perspective, like a typical puppy energy in a dog, and maybe we can talk about how that shows up in humans, and then typical alpha energy or leader energy and how that shows up in dogs and how that also carries over to humans.
Yeah, well, the one thing that we've kind of noticed is, even though this puppy is sleeping so cute, but even though this puppy is super adorable and only 13 weeks old, we still see that it gets mouthy, that it can't help but be a primitive, primal dog with those urges when it gets overexcited, and when a dog doesn't know what to do with that energy, that excitement that we have as children or puppies. You know, I mean, it's a catalyst for growth. It's a catalyst to learn, and you know, that's why we're working through the distractions. We're working through the fear. That's why we're driving to Georgia right now to have even more of an in-depth, you know, experience with this dog, because they have to go through that to become domesticated, because they are still primitive at heart. And that's what most people don't realize, is even though, again, this puppy, you might think you buy it, you rescue it, it's good to go, they need training, they need guidance. And that's why we see that, you know, 1.5 million dogs get rescued, half of them get returned, 96% of rescue dogs don't get trained. So we, you know, if that's the concept, most people think that a dog at this point is domesticated, but from what you've seen, have you seen your puppy become primal and show some mouthiness and kind of be almost like a wolf-like, embody the wolf, would you say sometimes?
Yeah, I understand that humans, for myself, especially in the past, love categories. It seems like in order for us to flow through this experience of life a bit easier and more organic, it's nice to be able to throw things into categories very quickly and not think too much about them. So it's cool to think that, yeah, like I'm domesticating and training my puppy. However, I see it as a very much a two-way street, and that I'm getting trained and I'm learning more about energy, and maybe the dogs are domesticating us, like wheat maybe is domesticating us. And what I love about dogs, and I know since I'm not sure if Deanna's still with us, but it's a conversation that we've had plenty of times about when you have sexual attraction and chemistry between two humans. I do think there's different levels of maturity on how to interact with that chemistry, and I think the wolf, potentially the alpha male wolf pack leader, embodies the mature masculinity, or if it's a female, the mature feminine. And whereas a little puppy is what a lot of humans, and even myself, I've slipped into it in the past and recently, where it's just like so overly excited and leaking energy everywhere and doesn't know what to do with itself. It's almost like not breathing. Can you imagine a puppy versus a kind of like the idea of that carrying over into the bedroom or carrying over into the dating scene? And I tend to think that neediness kills most deals, and that's in the dating and relationship game as well. And that's something I thought was really fascinating, how you were saying about the puppy, that a lot of puppies' natural tendencies at first is to like run around everywhere. And I'm imagining if they were in a wolf pack, the leader would be able to put the puppy in line and be like, look, that's not the best, however this was communicated, I imagine it would be like, that's not the best way to get the most love and affection.
And I mean,
there's a better way, and I would like to hear about your way of doing that at the farmer's market the other day.
Yeah, and it's similar. So the way that, if you watched in one of our previous videos how we picked Raya up from the back of the fat of the neck, that's what you would see if you had a pack of wolves, even a pack of lions, whatever it is. When their young get out of line, they will correct them naturally, and they'll walk over, they'll pick them up by the neck, and they'll bring them back to the pack to lay down and learn what they need to do. And you have to, I mean, it's instinctual to put the, I guess, experience, not so much in the forefront, and let the mother, the father, whoever's trying to take care of, that's also part of the training. You can't necessarily always let the dog run around. It'll get hurt, right? If your kid's running into the middle of the road, there are cars coming, you tell them to stop and look both ways. And I think it's very similar. You don't want your puppy to just run around and be crazy. That puppy energy needs to be harnessed, and it almost is like a young person at getting a little bit too drunk, who's just trying to have a good time and is just giving it up. Like, it shouldn't be it shouldn't just be about your energy. You should have to, that neediness for attention. A lot of dogs want to jump on each other and lick. A lot of obsessive behaviors. They lick each other in the face. They, do all sorts of stuff. But
I almost imagine like someone going around in like a nightclub, shining like a flashlight or their energy, like, oh God, look at me, it's so cool I am, let me talk to you, let me talk to that, let me talk to this, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, all their neediness is pushing people away. It's like a leaked form of immature masculine energy, aka puppy energy, potentially. Whereas the opposite could be true maybe of a lighthouse that stands high on the hilltop, perched where everyone can see it, and it just does its thing. It harnesses its light. It uses it to its advantage. It's able to light up the whole room, the whole world, without even moving, without even being desperate. And therefore, if you're that person at the club or the church or the grocery store or wherever you're at, all of a sudden, attraction from the opposite sex and the same sex is inevitable. People desire to be in the presence of someone that's able to breathe fully out, breathe fully in, stand there with its own energy and not have to leak it, but can have it basically harnessed and ready to transmute in the advantageous way possible. And I imagine that's what alpha wolf pack leaders are helping the puppies understand and the betas understand, and I imagine that's also what shows up on the human scale quite a bit.
Similar to when we went to the park, and the first thing that Oriya did was, she wanted to, run up and be excited that I'm at the market, and she didn't get as much affection as when she was the lighthouse, and she chose to sit and just stay in one place, and everybody kept looking and coming up and appreciating her. So when you are the embodiment of the lighthouse and you're able to just stand still, and do what you're doing and not need the affection, to not need the attention, you just are being, you'll receive rather than, that neediness. And that's what we saw with Oriya.
That's what we call unavoidable success.
Unavoidable success.
Yes, sir. It's like, can you be with yourself? Can you love every part of yourself? And can you breathe into it and enjoy it? And breathe it out and breathe it in, baby. So yeah, that's something I wanted to talk about, the difference between wolves, puppies, dog, God. Where did they all come from? Maybe the answer is in the question. Maybe the answer is in the exploration of that. Maybe that's where the real insights and intuition is downloaded, rather than gripping or grasping or desperately needing a 100% clear and concise answer that you believe so strongly that you're willing to give them others that don't believe the same as you.
You said something yesterday when somebody said it's just social grouping, and you said it's never just, right? What's just? And that kind of, stuck with me a little bit. And it's, it's not just dog training. You're not just training your dog. It is an experience, right? You know, I'm learning, you know, from the experience. The dog is learning from the experience. It's a two-way street, and that really, you know, was profound. Nothing's just. So when you are working with your animal, be in the moment, enjoy the experience, and go along with it. You know, see what happens. You know, don't be afraid to work through the fears, the distractions, the triggers that your dog has that you may have. You might
actually maybe not even be not afraid of them, but actually pursue them potentially.
Yeah, pursue them.
Pursue your triggers to find out that your elevations. Feature your flaws to find out that they might be your features. These are all good points that, and it's amen to. I mean, just is such a word that is usually a diluter. It waters down what's happening, and I guess the best way I could ever think of using it just is right before the phrase "do it."
I love it.
Congratulations to Nike. Maybe that's where one of the most successful businesses were ever birthed from, because there are words that I believe have been littered into the English language and maybe other languages as well that make it easier to domesticate humans and keep that 2 to 98% ratio, you know, the 2% controlling the 98%. I do believe another awesome point, and I'm not sure if I ever read this right, but with that book, he's alluding to the idea that maybe when agriculture happened, the 2% of the earth became the world of humans. Whereas before it was 100% of the earth was the world for humans. You know, everything was open to explore if we could figure out a way. You know, that's not to say that we're naturally meant to go swim through glaciers for an hour, but maybe there's a way to do it with emerging technology, and maybe jumping in glacier water might be one of the healthiest things in the world to do. So it's interesting. I know the language and linguistics, I imagine that's something I'm going to get more into, but I do think it's used in a lot of ways to control people into believing the shared subjective myths that help the top notch stay at the top notch, and I think just is one of those words. So if you are going to use that word, make sure you're using it and not being used by it.
Preach. That is very, very true. A lot of people have, I mean, myself included, I had self-limiting beliefs because you want to be domesticated. I find I allowed myself to be complacent in a mediocrity of thinking that there's only one level to life, and allowing myself to open the door has led me to South Carolina to train this puppy. And now we're headed to Georgia, so experience every moment. Don't let your fears stop you from living your life to the fullest. And if you have a dog, if you're the type of person that wants to make an excuse, just follow Daniel Eisenman. He's taking his dog everywhere with him, proving, you know, the concept, the excuse is wrong, that you can take your dog everywhere with you, you can travel the world, you can be a happy, you know, puppy-spirited person and make the most of every single day with a dog. And, you know, between surfing and longboarding and going for walks and car rides and to the market, you know, we go out to dinner and eat with this dog. This puppy goes everywhere with us. So it's not a hindrance to our lifestyle. It allows more opportunities. We've met more people. We've seen more things. We've met more dogs. So, I mean, use it as an opportunity to open a door, open a window. Don't let it be a limitation for your lifestyle.
Yeah, and I would say finally that you can argue for your limitations and you can believe that you can't do things, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. And I'm feeling good with this. I've had weak connection as I've allowed myself to be a bit insecure.
Any questions before we guys get off? I do appreciate everybody checking us out as we take this safe trip to Georgia. Thanks, Jonathan, Chris, Jeff, Diana, everyone else who watched. Again, 1.5 million dogs get rescued, guys. Over half get returned. So it's important that you get your dog trained. Seek the knowledge. If you guys need any help, I'll be flying around, driving around, helping people all throughout the United States. So contact me, wearedogtraining.com. I'd love to help you guys. We use a no painful style of training, all natural. You know, really embody the wolf as you could, and you respect the evolution of where your dog came from. So thank you guys for your time. We're tuning out. Peace.